Thank you so much for joining. And yeah, very excited to have you here today. I know we have our partners have invited you today to join us. Please add all of your questions in the Q&A in the section here on the right side. So if you have any questions, we will take them up. We will have about 1 hour now to talk, and then we can maybe address some of the questions. But this is not the only conversation we will have. If you're really planning to come and move to Austria, we will be here for you to support along the whole process and the whole way. Therefore, this is a first introduction for you to understand, okay, what will happen if I move to Austria and what are the steps I have to take, okay? Therefore, I will just go ahead, and my plan is to explain you as much as possible that you will understand who we are at You Work Life, what we do. And just to let you know, we started this agency about 4 years ago with really the plan to help people who don't have access to the European labor market to come to Austria and be able to work here. Because there was some change in the legislation, so really we could bring also workers to Austria, and that's how we started off. We have now more than 150 people that moved to Austria, and about 10 with them with families even. So we provide this whole relocation support and really help you to find the best employers in Austria. And to give you a bit of context, Austria lies in the middle of Europe. You know, maybe some famous people like Arnold Schwarzenegger, the bodybuilder, or from classical music, Mozart, Beethoven. So it's a country rich of history and lies, as mentioned, in the middle of Europe. And if you think about it, it's quite a small country. So we have about 9 million inhabitants, and the majority are Catholics, but we also have minorities of different areas, from Muslims and other religious affiliations, and we have a democratic system. Therefore, Austria, what you can see and feel if you move here, it's quite a rich country. It's in the middle of Europe, therefore 8 bordering countries. So you can travel to other countries in Europe very easily. As you will see, within one day you could cross 4 or 5 other countries. So even by train, you don't even need a car. So that works pretty well. And yeah, it's quite a rich country. We are the 13th richest country in the world. So there's a high GDP, and you will see this in the way how you live and work here, because you will have highest quality of living. And the main capital, Wien or Vienna, is something that you might know. You've heard of Vienna, and it's where a lot of our talents land, where they will work in Vienna or the surrounding areas. Also, the international community is mostly based there. But Austria has a lot of mountains, there are a lot of villages. So even if you move here, it could also mean that you live in a smaller village, depending on your interest or also where the job opportunities arise. To move forward with it, cost of living. Very important. When you come to Austria, what we always make sure is that you have a fixed work contract and you know where you will work, how many hours it will take, and therefore you will know how much you need to cover your living expenses. But the first month, usually when you arrive, you need to cover this first month until you get your first salary. So to get a bit of understanding, I will give you some data now, but whenever you move here, you should always check this up on the internet or with ChatGPT first. But housing prices will always be around 500 to 600 euro minimum. If you need a big apartment, you want to bring your family, you should calculate more than 1,000 euro. Utilities for electricity and such and water is about 200 euro, and internet about 25 euro. Those are average supermarket prices that you can see here. This is, of course, much higher than you know it in your country, but of course, as well, the salary you will earn here is much more. And also, you can see of our testimonials on our website and our social media, we have many people that move from different countries, up to 17 different nationalities, from India, from Brazil, from Mexico, from Tunisia, from Morocco. So many people moved here and they are able to work, to live well in Austria with their salary as a worker. So that's one of our highest standards, that you come here and really have a good life and don't have to struggle. Here you can see some examples of restaurant and leisure prices. So how much will it cost you if you want to go for a beer in a restaurant? How much does the gym cost, and such things? Everything that I'm sharing here will also be shared with you afterwards as a presentation. So you can really analyze and have a deep dive on all of those topics. Here's some topics about prices for railway and other clothing and such. And typical food, you will see things like schnitzel, which is a veal or pork baked out in bread. We have different type of dumplings. We have sweet dishes like the Kaiserschmarrn or the Apfelstrudel. Usually it's that you always have a piece of meat and then a lot of carbs. Because why? In Austria, we are usually a country of farmers. A lot of workers who lived on the farm, who worked on the farm. Therefore, you can see this in our culinary. That's usually food that tries to give you a lot of energy if you have to work hard. And you can, of course, taste this in restaurants and everywhere you go, or maybe you even will learn how to cook some of it on your own. Very important, Austria has four seasons throughout the year. So, which means it's not just sunny and summer all day. We also have a winter, which now in November gets cold. You might have 5 degrees. In January, it can even fall below 0 degrees. So if you work also in a blue collar job where you have to work outdoors, remember that you will move to a country that is considered cold. Summers nowadays are quite pleasant, also in spring, which usually starts around April and May, but make sure about that. If you come here and you decide you want to move to the middle of Europe, specifically to Austria, and then you will be facing also this, for some people might be a hardship. Maybe you get also used to it. Just important to know that. And what do Austrians value most? It might not differ that much from what you know, so that's good. But yeah, it's mainly health, it's family, and good relationships. Good relationships, of course, private, but also at work, which is really important because we spend a lot of time of our lives at work. So that's very important for you to understand. Very very important is we will have, if you come to Germany, to Austria, you will have to learn how to speak German. Why? We have 3 countries in Europe where you speak German. It's Switzerland, Germany, and Austria. And it's everywhere you go, you will see German. Many, many people speak English. So you will get along in day to day by speaking English. But if you want to work here, it's very essential for you to sometimes to even secure the job, especially all the jobs that we will present you here today in the railway industry. You will need some German proficiency, but also to integrate well. If it should be this country you want to live long term, it's very important that you start to learn it. If you want to bring your family, your kids, your spouse, they also want to integrate well. They want to get along with the other children at school, with your neighbors. So it's very, very important that you put the focus on it. If you say, I don't want to learn German, then this is not the right path for you because it's really essential. So, but if you say, yes, I will take this on to take a new life opportunity, a new job opportunity for me and my family, then you're right. And here we'll share with you some sentences, or like something we could use today, for example, is hallo, which is like the English version of hello. Good morning, good day, is guten Tag, guten Morgen. And yeah, if you haven't started yet, those are the basics that you usually start off with. So you start to be able to introduce yourself. And for the job requirements that we will show, B1, B2, it's already on a good conversational level where you will also start to understand and be able to articulate some technical terms from your job. When you come here as well, the habits and what is important in Austria, some tips I want to give with you. We are quite formal. If you come from other countries, sometimes people are we value much, especially if you have a superior like a manager or such, to use the formal language, to call them with Mr. or Mistress. So you really be polite in that form. But also Austrians usually quite, when they get to know you, are quite quickly in losing that formal way and be informal in a way. There's a word called servus, which we say instead of hello, which you can use like the Italian ciao whenever you say hello or goodbye. So they get quite open regarding that. Topics regarding that as an immigrant, you will learn that, and there are many portals and sources where you can learn more about how to move to Austria. Of course, there are some topics maybe in the first weeks you should avoid. Not talking about the Second World War, which is something still a topic in Austria. For some people is still important, and maybe not make jokes about such things. And in general, migration in Europe is always a topic. There are some people that are not that open to migration, but especially for people who come to work and come with a work visa, usually we see in the work environment and all the companies that hire, they are very open. And they also do as much as possible that all the colleagues that you will work with are also open to foreigners. And for us as well as an agency, we take very, very high pride and very strong focus on it as well. Those are the things. We really want to make sure that you find the right employer that really are happy to welcome you and integrate you well. Some more tips. It's very important to arrive on time. If your jobs, you have to be at work at 8 a.m., we recommend that you're there 7:50, 7:55. That's something very Austrian. It's not that you arrive at 8 and then you still have to change your clothes and, I don't know, do something else. It means ready for work at 8 a.m. Very important. Appearances matter, I think, like anywhere else. Shower, have a good appearance, such things. Have also your work clothing and everything in an orderly manner. And people are usually respecting their personal space. So if you want to meet your colleagues or visit them, always advise or advise them, I will arrive at your place at this and that time. They're usually not that spontaneous when you say, let's meet at 5 p.m. and you show up at 3 p.m. at their house and they are not ready. So those are some things, just for you to know. And then usually I would say things are not that different maybe than in your country, but those are some things that people just respect a bit more the personal space in the beginning. And usually when you make a good friend in Austria, it's also people and friends that you can take keep for a lifetime. And what Austrians love is they work a lot, they work hard, but they also play hard, which means they like to go for a drink, for a beer, with their friends and colleagues after work. They also, like to together and join. Maybe also let me know in the chat. Have someone of you already been in Austria? Maybe raise your hand or give a thumb if you've been to Austria, if you've already seen the country or been here. And now let's go into the most important part, the work. You want to understand how you will be treated when you come here. And very important and information that I will give you in Austria, every contract, every work contract will give you 14 months of salary. So twice a year you get a bonus. Usually it's in June, July, and then in December that you get the same amount of salary. Again, it's like an additional bonus. This is by law in every industry, which might make it a bit complex when you look at if you compare salaries, for example, with Germany, because in Germany there's just 12 months. So, but don't worry, everything that I will show you is always calculated for you in an annual net salary. Because we have the gross salary, that's what you earn, like on the payslip. But then on the payslip, there's also some deductions, and the net salary is what you get each month in the end and the end of the year. So I will provide you all the values then in net salary per year, so you really understand what is the money at hand in my bank account that I will have the whole year. Okay. Very important, working hours and overtime and such. We have a very strict labor protection, and so when you come here, there are certain rules that usually are no one should work more than 8 hours. There is, of course, in some industries, like in shift work, where you can work up to 12 hours. But then there are some certain rules that you have to take some time off. So no one can require you to work 7 days a week, 12 hours. If something like that would happen, you would have a contact person, you could report that. And as well, companies have to respect that and also give you the time to rest. So everything is written down here in detail. You can read this later, because it's, of course, very specific topics and use cases. And also, again, it depends on which industry you work in. But in general, what you can remember as well, you have up to 5 weeks of paid leave. So when you have holiday, you will also get your salary, which means, especially you want to fly home, ideally you can talk to your employer that you can say, can I take a month off for the 5 weeks and take all my holiday together to visit my family back home in India or such. So that's very important. And sick leave as well. When you are sick, usually within the first 3 days, when you say I don't feel well, you should visit a doctor and also show that you're not just staying at home because you don't feel like going to work. They really want to see a proof. But every time you're able to provide this proof from a doctor, you get your payment. You get your normal salary even though you're sick. So that's really important. Of course, in some cases where you're off for a very long time, then there might be some reduction in salary, but this depends on the certain on specific use cases. And usually also the moment you start to work and you're being registered in Austria, you already have the full healthcare, national healthcare protection. That's why we have a gross salary. So that's all the money you should get, but then it's already deducted the pension contribution. So if you want to retire one day in Austria, and also the healthcare. And then there's the pay slip. We have a whole, in our blog section, you can see this. I have also added it here. There's many different Austrian words to explain you all, like additional payments. There's night shift. If you work extra hours, all of that is in your payslip. And later, when you get it, your first one, this will become handy and you will understand better how it works. Also, the work permits that we give you is usually 2 years. If you extend it after 2 years, you get another 3 years. And in those 3 years, so in the first 2 years, it's very important that you keep your job, because in case you get unemployed, you don't get unemployment money from the state. You can, of course, switch the employer and find a new one within 6 months. But once you are in this second, the red card plus, which is another 3 years, in case you get laid off or you want to leave the job, you even have the right to receive some money from the state in case you don't have find a new job. It's, of course, less than what you would earn, but it's usually enough to at least cover your expenses. And then, um, there's many other benefits. It depends on which companies we talk about and where you will end up. Today, I will present you all the jobs at the main railway company in Austria. So all those benefits I'm listing here are mainly for them, which means you get free access to the train and travel through Austria. There's some specific family support, and there's a good network in the company, and especially a lot of professional development to learn new things. One question I'm seeing just here, retirement age in Austria. I think for women now it's around 60 and for men 65, but that might shift. So let's say you come here and you work 10 years and then they maybe have to move this age up because we have a demographic problem, so called. We don't have enough young people. So more people have to work for more elderly people that we have to sustain because all these taxes we pay is usually to pay the people who cannot work anymore. So that might shift in the next years. And so that's something you have to consider. Right now, the age is 65 for men, but it might change. So let's start with the first jobs. And you can give a thumbs up, for example, if you see something that's you. So I want this to make it at least a bit more interactive and we see as well who's interested in which positions. I will go through them quickly, but also with a bit of detail to give you a bit understanding what you need. So very important for a post bus driver to come here. It's important to have the B1 German certificate and a D license, which is the bus driver license. That's it. So it's basically the German and the bus license from your national country. If you get this job, and I will explain the process, how it works after I present the job. So don't worry, we will cover this, how you get your job interview and how the process happens afterwards. And so when you come here, you will then have to do one more test. When you come here and you have the bus license, you would be able to drive a bus, but with no one inside. So that, of course, doesn't help because you come here for doing transport, for transporting people. So that means we will send you in a specific school. It's usually a test that just takes 2 weeks, where you get some German certifications that you also know how to transport goods and people, and that's the D95 certificate that we still have to do. So in our program, this is covered and the expenses are covered by us, and we will take care of you that you will do this. Just important for everything that you will see here, all the work hours at our employer here for the railway company is just 38.5 hours per week. So it's even less than 40 hours. There will be cases, we will see it in a bit, where you of course have to work more because you have a 12-hour shift driving a train. Then it's maybe longer, but this is of course compensated then with overtime or with extra holiday that you can take later. Okay, here you will see, for example, the salary benefit of the post bus driver is about 32,000 euro net. So you divide this by 14, and then you know in average what is your monthly salary. And whenever you get a job opportunity, so you're being presented, and then you will be able to really understand what is the monthly salary, because that can also switch. Usually once a year, there are negotiations and every industry negotiates higher salaries. Usually they always adjusted to the inflation. So you can always expect about 2 to 4% increase of your salary each year. Let's go on to the next one so you get a better understanding. Skilled workers for manual activities. Here the salary is about 29,500. What does it mean? This is support activities as a skilled worker, let's say. You know how to use a crane. So if you have a crane lift license, for example, if you have a welding degree or a car painting certificate, forklift drivers. The good thing is this is very open to many levels. So the only thing what you need is a completed A-level degree, so completed high school, and then showing professional experience. You don't need a university degree in electrical engineering, for example. So even a lower degree, if you did a technical course, if you learned welding, for let's say a 6 months welding course, that will apply here. And here it starts. Now all the positions that I'm showing need the B1 German certificate, but also a B2 course completion. Why? Because all of those activities now are related to the railway industry. So it's all about like people who work on the train or have to repair something around the train. And therefore it also applies public security. So when something happens and somebody needs to talk to you and say there's an emergency, you need to be able to understand. So you will come to Germany, to Austria, knowing already B2 German, but what is needed is the B1 certificate. And then going from B1 to B2, it's another intensive course that you have to take. So they want to see whenever you start your work, you have the B2 course completion as well. And then you will see something which is very important, the physical fitness for lifting and carrying. For most jobs, there is a specific standard requirement that we will pass to you. And this is part of the hiring process, that you visit a local doctor in your country and we will check upon those requirements. Because, of course, it makes sense that if you drive a train or work on a train and you cannot see properly, that's considered like not secure, and therefore we have to test that, and it's a European regulation and we have to follow that to really um, um, make you be able to take the job. Here's a question: if the B1 2 will be taken in Austria? No, you have to take the course before you arrive to Austria. So important is to do the B1 certificate, because then they know you can take a job interview, you will be able to communicate well, and while you wait for your visa and prepare for your move, ideally you then take the B2 course completion, or you even do it before. Another thing that you see in all the positions is we want to show if you have completed the military service. Why the employer doesn't want that you start to work there and in one of your holidays you fly home and then your country tells you you have to stay because you have to do military service and you cannot come back. I know in some countries there is no mandatory military service. In that case, it doesn't apply to you. We just give a notice: in this country it doesn't apply, and then that's it. And very important, we need a clean criminal record. Once, that the employer wants to see that you have not committed any crimes. And secondly, also for the migration process, it's mandatory to show. So this is the skilled workers for manual activities. And what you will see in most positions as well, they would prefer that you bring a driver's license B. It's not mandatory for most positions. If they are, we will let you know. And in that case, driver's B license is the normal car driver's license. And in case you need to do an extra test or let it legalize in Austria, we of course take care of it and help you with it so that you can fully work. Next job: skilled workers for rail vehicles. So in that case, what you would need is a technical apprenticeship or university degree, and of course work experience. And in that sense, it's really technical tasks: electricians, mechanics, fitters, welders, metal workers. So in any case, if in future you get contacted by us and our partnering agency that invited you today here, we will detail all of that. And you will get an email asking you, okay, are you interested in this position? And we usually check with you all of that beforehand to know, is your technical apprenticeship or degree recognized in Austria? And I will explain a bit more how this process works in a bit. Again, B1 certificate, B2 course completion, and the rest is also listed. Salary is also around 30,000 euro net annual. Then we have skilled craft and technical worker. This is really welders, really specific welders if you have a long year experience in that sense. And it's about welding different type of metals, usually around the trains and the tracks as well. And yeah, again, very important what is mentioned here is a strong teamwork. So imagine that's also why you need to learn the German. Usually you work in small teams because it's about maintaining the whole infrastructure of the Austrian railway. So if there's an issue somewhere, if there was some flooding and you have to drive somewhere to repair it, there's always a small team of workers then working together. That's why the teamwork is so important, and it's one of the values of the company as well. That you're able to communicate well, but that you're also a team player, that you like to help others, that you want to be here for them and support them. So that's very important. And yeah, I have detailed all the so you will see all the detailed information about the job description here. I will not mention all of them now, just to go for the most important ones. Sorry. Okay, let's move on. We need HVAC workers. Usually you know it as air condition, heating and ventilation installers. Again, apprenticeships that are recognized as this. Do we have any experts in this job here in the round? Then lift your hand. Some of you, I know, I've checked many of your CVs, have several degrees as well. I know they are not just train drivers; they are electricians as well. They have done many other jobs as well and certificates. So sometimes you even qualify for several of the job positions, which might even give you the opportunity to be called to this or to that job, and then you can decide which one you want to take. But this is very important because there are, of course, many train stations, and also those ones, the buildings, they need maintenance, and also on the trains sometimes as well, but it's more about the buildings. You can see the salary is a bit lower because this is considered a different type of job, but not directly in the railway. It's more on the building part, building maintenance, and therefore there's a bit of a lower salary. This is the lowest one from the ones I'm presenting here today. Then we have skilled workers for road vehicle technology. This is really about maintaining and fixing the trains. And again, we need the car mechanic, car bodywork, or system electronics technician. They would be able to apply for this job. Again, 2 to 3 years of technical degree, can also be a university degree, for example, as a mechanical engineer, electrical engineer. Those areas as well apply here. And here, for example, they would also require, it would be ideal if you have some driving license in COD, because you have to move sometimes the train, or in that case it's also for the buses. So this is also to maintain, you've seen the bus driver position, so the company maintains a lot of buses, and then you have to take care of the bus maintenance as well. Then there are different levels of it. We have a highly skilled one. You can see just there's a slight difference and in the explanation, where you can take on more of a leadership role, where you manage smaller teams, where you may be the deputy of the body shop manager, and you will see here in the next one as well. And there's highly qualified specialist as well. So this is really when you have several years of experience, management experience. It also includes, and you will see it on the left side, doing detailed records of billing, warranty processing. So that needs, besides your technical experience, also a bit of management competence, maybe also being able to work more on documentation and helping really in the administrative part for managing the road vehicle technology workshop. Then we have control and safety technology. Here we are calling everyone in the area of electrical engineering, mechatronics, mechanical engineering. This is really about the inspection, maintenance, troubleshooting of all the railway crossing, of the signals, so that we really make sure every train stops when it should stop and just goes when it should go. And here, for example, you can see Class B driving license required from the first day of work. Why? Because you will have to drive somewhere, sometimes maybe alone or in team, with the car of the company, of course, but to fix something. So in that cases, yeah, it's not possible to drive with a train there or with a bus, because it's in the middle of somewhere where you have to fix the lightning or the crossroads, so the train can really stop there. That's for these cases, driving license is necessary. And then the next one is skilled workers for civil engineering. So we even have in this area, because as mentioned, there are many train stations that have to be built or renovated. So here we are calling bricklayers, civil engineers, metal constructors. Again, Class B driving license needed. And the rest applies, as you know, B1 certificate with B2 course completion. And this is really about, yeah, working on the construction site. Then again, experts for electrical engineering. In that sense, it's more about doing the inspection and maintenance of electrical systems. It's a lot about the overhead lines of the trains. So as you can see in the image, it also might require some climbing. This is also part of the physical fitness test, where we will test in this, for this job, also the height suitability. So if you say, I fear working on up on the height, then this is nothing for you, unfortunately. This will be tested before. And of course, we don't want you to feel uncomfortable that you take a job and then you don't feel comfortable doing it when you're on site. Then we have something more specific, goes in the same direction, but has more like IT telecommunication side, but also calls for electronics experts in mechatronics. Is for telematics, very specific. It's for the telecommunication systems and railway infrastructure. So this is similar job, but with a different detailed focus, let's say. And then we have the last one in this technical area, which is the wagon master. The wagon masters are the ones who are checking the trains before they are leaving. And here there's a bit of a higher requirement. They want, besides the apprenticeship program and your high school degree, also a technical university degree. Why? It covers a lot of documentation. It's a lot about working as well on systems in the computer, typing and doing maintenance in that sense and documenting. So it has a bit more of a, you have to be out there with the train and working on it, but you really don't do the fixes. It's more documenting it so others can do the fixes. And there's a specific test that has to be done, which we will cover as well and fund for you that you get this to be enabled to work on this one. Then we have now many of you, now raise all your hands. Who of you here have train driver's license in your countries? Please, I want to see some hands now and see who's in this area. So we have different ones, and I will go through it. So the first one, of course, the most important one, who can transport, so universal train drivers for passenger services. And we have different licenses for this in Europe. I will learn as well how is it in your country, because we will do all the recognition of your certificates to see where do you qualify. Yeah. This one also needs the B2. In this sense, in this is the only one that needs also B2 certificate, because it's the most critical one. Of course, you will drive a train on sometimes 250 kilometers per hour with hundreds of people there. So they want a B2 certificate. So this is really something for when you already have advanced German or you really want to get there. But we also have other career paths for you, and I will show it in a bit. If you say maybe you're not there yet, there are different opportunities to work as a different type of train drivers and then maybe climb the career ladder once you're in Austria. So don't get discouraged if you're not there yet. This is the highest entry point for the passenger services because it has some of those laws that we have to follow, and we will make sure that you also get all the certificates approved in the end as well. Next one is the universal train driver for cargo. So this is really not transporting people but goods, and it's kind of the same, it's just a different license. I'm not sure yet in all of your countries. As mentioned, I will learn it. How is it in Kenya? How is it in India? It's a different type of license that is needed. Therefore, you need to do a different recognition. The salary is the same. And then we come to also an area that's now come a lot of jobs that some of them you have seen already, but we call it a lateral entry. So let's say you have a degree as an electrical engineer, and then you started to also get your train driver's license. Now in the process where we will have a look at your certifications, we might find out that the education in your country is not on the same level as it is required in Austria. That would mean that you cannot go for this job right now. So what you can do is you have one option to do a lot of extra tests and studies in your home country, but some of them are not even able. You would have to fly to Austria and do it here to just later qualify. So that's why there are other areas where they offer for lateral entry, so career changes. So that could be someone who has no driving license at all, but maybe someone who has one but is not recognized. They could still start to work there. And then while being on the job, you get extra training and already paid from the client. So this is a great for you to, let's say, have a softer entry as well. Of course, the payment is a bit lower, but you also get all the training on the job. And this is also for someone like you, if you're here and you have electrical engineering degree, and one day you get an email from us and say, we are looking for more lateral entry for railway positions for a train driver, you could apply for this as well, because you say, okay, yes, I'm ready to take up a new job in Austria. And then, to start this new career. So that's a good thing with our client. We are very open and we're very flexible. So if, for example, for some reason you don't qualify for one, we make sure that you hopefully apply for a different one. Okay. Or for some reason you go in an interview and you don't pass it because you're nervous, it didn't work out. We will work with this company for more than 80. We will work with them for 8 years. It's a contract over 8 years. And therefore we make sure that you have several opportunities to take a job interview and get your job. So this one I'm showing you is the shunting locomotive driver. The ones from you that are in the railway industry that you know, it's not transporting goods or people. It's just moving the trains in part of the shunting work, moving them and assemble the trains so they get ready for departing. And here you see as well in all the lateral entries, the only requirement that is needed is a high school degree and the physical fitness and everything else that I've mentioned. And you see there's a training, 23 to 36 weeks of intensive training, which is theory, simulation, and practice. And you get a full salary from the first month on. So even though you're still training, you're maybe not working on it, you're really learning and you have a lower salary, but once it's completed, it gets upgraded. So I've added this for you so you really understand, okay, how do I set my starting salary? And then based on how long the training takes based on your education that we have to check. How long will be defined then. Same for universal train drivers. As mentioned, if you want to learn to be a train driver or you don't have all the certificates available, we can present you here. Then there's the train attendant. This is for everyone who says, I'm not a technical person or I don't want to work in maintenance anymore. I want to work with people. That's the train attendant. Again, there's an intensive 5 months training program. Just to let you know, the train driver is 52 weeks intensive training. So if you come to as a universal train driver, you will have 1 year of training. The train attendant is shorter. It's a 5 month training program, and it's really about the security of the train and doing also the ticket check, service control. So you have to walk through the train and talk to people. So it needs a lot of social communication as well. There are a lot of course, emergencies as well. A lot of times myself happened to me in the train that somebody fainted, somebody has a heart attack. So it also considers on it. You also need to have these capabilities. So if someone is here and says, I have worked in gastronomy, I have worked as a waiter, or I have worked as customer service somewhere, maybe this train attendant job is interesting for you. And then we have the travel advisors. Those are the ones selling tickets at the train stations and also helping people when there's a cancellation, if there's a flooding and people don't know where to go. The travel advisors are here. This is a 6-week training program. You immediately get the full salary, and this is really a sales job. And there are even incentives for doing more sales. There's some bonus payments and such things. Then we have train dispatchers. Train dispatcher is really an office job. You're sitting in front of a computer, and you will have to see if all the trains going in the right direction and control that everything goes well, which also includes communication with the train team, with people calling when there are emergencies and such. Again, 33 weeks training program. The shifts are 5 to 12-hour shifts and maximum 38.5 hours work week. Again, regarding shift plans, usually you know it about 2 months in advance. So that's also important for you to know. And again, overtime, whenever it's there, you will get it, of course, paid. Then we have the shunter, the ones from the railway industry. You know what it means. It's for assembling the trains that they're ready to get out for the next trip. And again, it has a training program. So if you want to learn or get this opportunity to apply here, that's how it will look like. The next one is the shunter driver, which is in the same teams. But even if you start as a shunter, then later you can do extra trainings to also get the shunter driver license, which then would give you a higher salary. You could learn something new. And this could also apply maybe for some of you where the driver's license is not fully recognized for the transporting cargo and people. Maybe they could start as a shunter driver. So this one important. And the next one is the wagon master, which I explained already. So you can even start this as a lateral entry. This is the only one that does not just need an A-level, a high school degree. Here you also need a mechanical or electrical vocational training. So this is for every electrician here or somebody who studied mechanical engineer or such and they want to be a wagon master. This would be an option, 32 weeks intensive training program. A lot to learn. And important for you as well, everybody who signed up here, you can reach out and we can give you access to our job coaching program. A lot what I have mentioned here, we have packed in an online program. Usually this is a paid program, but we will offer this for free for all of you who's joining here. We will reach out to you separately to so you can get this offer. So it includes most what I've mentioned about how's the visa process in Austria, how do you prepare for an interview, how to get a good CV, how to prepare a cover letter, what to do if you get rejected in a job interview, to not get afraid of trying it again, how to work with this type of rejection. So it's really important to us because I've accompanied many people and we want to make sure that when you get this job opportunity, when you're invited to an interview, that you perform well and that you get the job. So that's really important to us. Now you wonder, how does it work? What are the next steps? First of all, you did the first step. You've talked to our local recruiting partners, so they did a great job and bringing all of you here, more than 80 people. So thank you so much. First of all, sign up with them. Everything that I've mentioned and how the process works will be briefed to them. They will be your contact partners in the country. They will help you to get the German up to date. They will help you to get the physical exams and all of that. Because we are hiring here for next year, for 2026, up to 100 people is planned with our agency. This number can go up or down depending on how other agencies perform, because this is a public bid and we are just one of them. But the plan is to be able to give 100 candidates the chance to move each year. What's very important is that we start with the document verification, that you send us all your documents that you have, your train driver's license. We not just need the license, we also need to know the curriculum, so the mark sheets, so we understand in year one what was covered, in year two in which semester, so we understand how long was the whole education. If you have a bachelor's degree, the same, we need the diploma and the mark sheets, so we know how long did it take and what were all the courses, because in the migration process, this will be checked by the labor agency. Then the German language certification, we know some of you might speak some German already, some others not, but it's time to start learning it. Ideally, you learn A1 and A2, then you do a test, the A2 certificate. Then we can prove already that you are on a good level. And then you train in the course for B1, and then you do the B1 certificate. From this moment on, we can present you to our client because you have to do the job interview in German as well. So very important. Then there's the health and psychological assessment. The psychological tests are done online. You can do them in English, but we will require you to also do them in German once you're up to date. Because once you arrive to Austria, they will test you on site again. So same with the physical test. So you will have to go to a local clinic and will be tested upon a huge checklist that we provide them, which includes they will check obesity, if you have diabetes, if you have consuming drugs or alcohol, such things will be tested because, of course, we talk again here about public transport and there's a safety topic. So they want to be sure that everybody who comes here is able to perform the duties all the time that they are on shift. And all of that will be checked in Austria again. So that's why we have to do it before. So we are sure that you don't come to Austria and then you fail such test and then you cannot take up work. So step 5 would then be the client interview. I know it would be ideal to have them earlier, but it's kind of a requirement that we need to first check those basic things and then you get you ready. The good thing is if you've done those checks, you're really ready for these jobs, but also for any other job in Austria. And this is really important. So if you want to come to Austria, yes, we are the number one opportunity, of course, but we know as well if you invest in doing this German class and such, you will qualify for many jobs, not just these ones. Once you get the client interview and you're approved, then the visa process takes usually between 6 to 12 weeks. I would say 2 to 3 months, so 8 to 12 weeks. It's usually how long it takes. We do everything online. We do the recognition of your documents and then get the work permit. Once the work permit is virtually approved, then you have to go to the embassy, the Austrian embassy in your country, and then you get the entry ticket with the Visa D usually. If you're from a country where they can enter European Union freely as a tourist, let's say, then you don't need to visit the embassy before. You can just fly as a tourist and pick up your residence card in Austria. And then there's the arrival and onboarding. The probation period is 3 months. So it's important that you secure your job for at least 3 months. Why? We come to this next step because with this specific railway client, we have a special offer. They want to follow the International Organization for Migration Standards, IOM. First of all, there's no fees charged for any of the recruitment or the hiring process. So we will not charge you or you cannot pay us to get the job or to be listed before others. This is against the law in Europe. So yes, there's no fee for that. But also, if you get the job and if you pass the 3 months, you get reimbursed all the cost for the German language. You get reimbursed all the cost for the visa and documentation process and the translation of some documents and also the travel reimbursement. We can, of course, now unfortunately not pay for everyone the German classes up front. So we had to find a common ground where you say, okay, how can we make this sure? The good thing is if you pass those 3 months, you get a huge amount of money back. And of course, with your local agency, you might find some modules or setups that we can say some of it can be paid by the agency and be paid back then. So that's something we will figure out. And it depends a bit on how we do the setup in each of your countries. But that's really important, this information. And then I want to bring you something else, which is the family migration services. So I know a lot of you have family at home, your wife at home, children, and you want to bring them. Austria offers that. Even with your visa, when we start your work permit process, we can start the one of your family in the same time. You can also go first and do it later. If we do it together, it's a bit easier. If you do it later, it's a bit more processes, but also it makes sure that you really know what you do because it's a new country. You will have to figure out how much of my salary I really have to sustain my family. It takes time to find the right school, the right kindergarten, the right apartment for you and your family. So of course, from a standpoint of preparing better your family, it's usually recommended that you go first. You see how you like it. If you're really succeeding in this new country and then bring your family later. But there's also an option to do it together. If we do this path, there's a separate charge because this is not covered by the employer. So for that, something we will charge a service fee, but we've done it several times and it works pretty well. And it's really nice that you can bring your family. And this also would mean your children then have the chance to study, go to school in Austria, and find a long-term living in Europe and in Austria specifically. And just to recap all of that, important, is this program right for you? This is right for you if you seek a long-term move to a German-speaking country. If you're not sure where you want to go, you say, I just want the quickest option somewhere in Europe, then maybe Austria is not the right one. Because especially in this railway business, you need to learn German and be ready to work there in the country, outside, might be cold as well. So you go to a German country where there's also winter. If you say, I'm up for that, then you're the right candidate. The ones that want to come, usually you have a skilled worker status. So you've worked in your experience before, you have a degree, you know, you've done already the work because yeah, that's one of the main requirements. And it's really important that you're open to adapt to new environments. Most of you maybe live already in a different country, you've done the move, you know how it is to change environment. Be prepared, it's different. There will be a cultural shock, but of course, you will have our support. And of course, if you're not really a fit, if you're not really sure where to go, you don't really want to learn German, and you want things very quick, we are trying our best. The recruiting phase starts in January. And then we have the way that the client contacts us with the right positions. We don't know yet when they will ask us for the train drivers, if it be in January or March, when they will ask for the shunters. So you need a bit of patience. But again, this is a long-term project. And we try to place all of you and give you a chance as soon as possible, as well after you have done your part in learning German and getting all the documents in place. So if you're ready for your new life, as mentioned, I will share our LinkedIn, Instagram as well. We are quite active there. You can see a lot of other people that already have moved. And now I'm ready to move into the question and answer section. So we have another 15 minutes and let's have a look what we have here. Austria doesn't have an embassy in Ghana. Then we will have to see which embassy is closest to you. That unfortunately requires that you would have to travel to this country and take up to the visa there, stay for a few days, and then from there you could continue your trip to Austria. This happens as well with people from Bangladesh. They have to go to New Delhi in India to do that. Unfortunately, okay, here, you sponsor airfare. We don't sponsor, we reimburse. So you will have to pay it yourself and then we pay it back later. But we also found a new partner. It's called, I think it's called Lendors. We will launch this. There are some financing options now for skilled workers. So you can take some kind of credit. They pay something for you before and you can pay it back after you get your first salary. So we will work on some financing options to make it easier for you. The process takes how many days? I've mentioned it in the presentation. The hiring can take longer, but the visa process 2 to 3 months. I will actually go up on the top with the first ones who ask. So that's fair, I think. Internet is expensive there. I've covered that, about 25 euro per month. What is the total estimate for an adult male living expense? I would say about 1,000 euro. I know from a waiter that we've migrated, he's from India. He had a salary of 1,500 euro net. He had to pay his own apartment, but he was still able to save 900 euro each month. He has saved up 9,000 euro after 11 months in Austria. So he did really well by working a lot, of course. His wife is not there yet. He's bringing her now. Yeah, but you will earn more than 2,000 euro. 1,000 euro for living expenses. It can be less, of course, depending on your way of lifestyle. It can also be more. If you go out and like to have a lot of beers, that's different then. But yeah, that's what you should consider. And of course, your spouses can also come here and work. Job is permanent contract. We have here this question. So you come with a work permit for 2 years tied to the employer. So also on your residence card on the back side, it will say valid at, and then it mentions your employer. So in case you want to leave this employer, you get kicked out or you lose your job, you don't have to leave the country immediately, but you will have to find a new employer, change the work permit so you can continue staying in the country. After 2 years, you can get switched to another card, which is 3 years additional. Then you have the free labor market access. So then you could anytime switch the employer and also work in different industries. And after 5 years, you can request a permanent residence stay. Tax question is here, tax deduction from salary in Austria. I recommend you ask ChatGPT. It's about 30%. It depends a bit in which industry you are, what is deducted and such. I've listed gross and net usually in most slides. Usually we focus on the net and then you can calculate it by 14. So divided by 14. So you really know what's your monthly salary. Some more questions here. Is accommodation provided? Good question. I actually forgot to mention this one. Some opportunities come with accommodation, others not. It doesn't mean accommodation is for free. It means there's some sponsored or cheaper options. We have a huge onboarding guide as well. We helped so many people to find an apartment. It starts with serviced housing where you have a room in a shared apartment for 500 euro to your own apartment around 1,000 euro in rural areas, living with other people, sometimes in the city. So there's many options. So far, no one came here and didn't have some house over the roof over their head. So everybody gets a place to stay. It's very important. And yeah, so that's the way. Healthcare is provided by the government through the employer. what is deducted from your payslip is already the healthcare. After getting the language certification, how much time will it take to start the job? We hope to present you as soon as possible, as soon as you have the B1 certificate, to the client. Recruiting starts in January 2026. If you have questions regarding the lateral entry position for electrician, Amit is asking this. Please ask the recruiting agency. They brought it into this call. Process charges as well, not. This is not the goal that we charge you here. There might be some cost and you get them reimbursed later. What is the age criteria? There is the only age criteria is being 18 years of age. So if you're younger, if some of your kids maybe want to apply, if they're 16, 17, it doesn't work. You have to be 18. Some positions 19 or 20, but usually with 18. Age criteria, there's usually no maximum, but just bear in mind if, let's say you're already 58 and you have not learned German, we just know it takes a bit longer learning a new language if you're older. It's just how it is. When you're younger, it goes easier. You will see it with your kids when they start coming here to school. Within a few months, they will speak German, and you're not. So it's usually how we know it from our experience from workers who are here. They don't speak any German, but their kids do. And also regarding the health requirements, it's important we do the health checks at home, because we know when you get older, you maybe have more health issues, and then maybe you don't qualify anymore for the job for the high standards in Europe. So that's something to consider when you're a bit older, to be sure and be honest with yourself. How good is your health? Are you in a good shape? There's a question regarding the EU blue card in Germany. If it can work in Austria, it depends. Usually for those positions that I'm shown, the salary range is lower than what you have as a EU blue card in Germany. Therefore, it wouldn't apply. It depends how long you have the EU blue card. In that case, you would have to reach out to me and ask me directly. We could have a look. But usually, if you have the EU blue card, we can just get you the red card, so the residence card in Austria. If you're qualified once for the EU blue card, you should also qualify in Austria. So let's see a few more questions. If you have opportunities for experienced railway specialists in the field to possess MSc is a Master of Science level of education. Here, that's the question. I actually can show them here. Yes, of course. Usually we start to recruit, or it's anyways good if you have Master of Science, Bachelor of Science, because then we're 100% sure you get the work permit. So that's a good thing. The higher your education is, the easier it is to qualify you as a in this certain area. So that's really good. Medical examination, where is it conducted? It's conducted in your country of residence. We will have to see where you are, where you live. Of course, if you live in India, India is a very big country, so we have to see what's the closest doctor or clinic. We will pass them a checklist, and they know exactly how they have to test you. And then we check that the check they've done is up to the standards in Europe. When is the interview? Review starts in 2026, and just for people who already speak German. We can unfortunately not send you the job interview if you don't speak German yet, because the client wants to see that you have done your part to learn German and then get there. The good thing is there will be a reimbursement of your cost after you've completed your probation period. Here's a question. Who will be the hiring partners for train driver? Yeah, we are the hiring partner. In the end, we are the ones that help you to get the job, but the work contract is with the employer in Austria. From here, what is the next step? Stay in touch with your recruiting agency, start learning German, get your documents in place. And what we've done right now, we will do more of such updates. We will do more webinars, more updates, provide you with more information. And then you will be constantly informed. Follow us on social media as well. That's really good. What about station master or station controller? We have not listed this job in our list, but we would have to see your background. What's your background? Maybe you can apply as lateral entry, as a train attendee, as a wagon master. It depends again on your background. That's the main thing. Usually those jobs, they're always tied to a specific education, like an electrical engineer must have a background in electrical engineering. If you want to apply for an electrical engineer position with a mechanical engineer degree, then usually you don't get the work permit because it's a very different job. So, but some of those positions, they are more open, like the wagon master, it's not that specific. And then it doesn't matter if you have mechanical or electrical engineering background. Somebody is saying gute Nacht, good night. Yeah, thank you. Somebody's already learning some German. How much do we pay for learning German? This also to be discussed with your local recruiting agency. There's of course free versions as well online. You can learn with Duolingo and such, but the success of learning it is much lower. Also, you have to stay on track, and it's good to have teachers to help you. So we really recommend to go in a real school, or at least learn online with a teacher. Yes. And Austria is not Australia. That's right. We don't have any kangaroos in Austria. We have mountains and we ski, and it's not Australia. And we don't have dollars. We have the euro. Skill evaluation is for free. You just have to send all of your documents, and we have a look and tell you if you qualify or not. We are an agency. We're a recruiting agency. You work live, and we are not a manufacturing company. Good. I think we've seen most of them. Some people are already signing off. We are from 80 attendees down to 65. So I will close this call now. I thank you so much for joining today. Really great to do this first session with you in this environment. Thank you so much for your questions. Liked how you were engaged. And we will continue our conversations together. Stay in touch. Thank you so much. And yeah, see you soon in Austria. Vielen Dank.